What is up, you guys? We are here with Lucifer and Devin. And today we wanted to do a video because somebody had left a comment on the channel asking about what to do when you're triggered in situations that trigger you. I think they specifically asked about in the workplace, but this is something that we've talked about between us, and we pretty much have some good examples for you guys. And this is like one way that I think is a really effective way to almost use like mental jujitsu, mental alchemy to basically turn any negative situation, to see the humor in it and to almost turn it into a positive, I'd like to say. At the very least, diffuse the negativity and not allow yourself to get into a negative spiral, which can be obviously like very counterproductive towards having a good day. And then if that negative spiral continues, it can just like really throw you off your mental game and throw you off in general. So I wanted to come and bring Devin on here today because she has some good examples to share with you guys too. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Hi friends. In one of the earlier videos we stated I'm a chef, so I work in a very male dominant environment. Recently, one of my employers thought it would be really cool to take credit for something that I made and spent a lot of time making, and he went out and told everyone, oh yeah, I did this. And it got around back to me and I was like, oh cool. So that confusion doesn't happen again, I started going around the kitchen. Everything that I made, took time on, I wrote, after I dated it, Devin made this, 100% Devin, no one else, parentheses, I have witnesses, to kind of like be fun, be funny about it, but to let him know like, hey, I see you, you know? Like not letting it like trigger me in a way where I'm going to be like have attitude or unnecessary hostility, but it's like, hey, you're not as slick as you think you are.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is like other people in the workplace, let's say it was just you and him, it still is effective, but the fact of it being everybody is now seeing this, it turns into a joke, it turns into an inside joke almost in the kitchen or the workplace, in this case, the kitchen. And so everybody knows this and everybody knows that you're not taking it too seriously, but they're still like, yeah, she still called him out for doing that. Cause like, come on, like he basically, as the situation described to me, it was this lady's 100th birthday. And so you worked really hard on this cake for her. And I know you showed me a picture of it and it looked amazing. And then apparently this guy was going around telling people that he was the one that made it, which is just like not cool at all. And also, this in the more grand scheme of like this particular work situation, it seems like this guy has a habit of doing that. It seems like he will consistently take credit for people's work. He will consistently act as if he's doing a lot more than he's actually doing, because he will just go off, be on Facebook, be missing. He's on the clock, but he's just nowhere to be seen. And so it's like with that whole situation, like you really handled that in a cool way, which is a great example of how to handle that in the workplace.
Yeah, and then it became a thing where we would make anything and it would be amazing, and we'd be like, oh, so-and-so did that, like giving him credit. And even if it wasn't, the most amazing thing, we made sure that he got the credit that he was wanting. So that was my little sassy way of going about it. Another way in the workplace that I handle stressful situations that could be triggering and I don't want it to offset my day is, a lot of times if I can, I'll just walk away. Literally walk away from the person. I had a server come at me in a very combative way, talking down to me for a situation that it didn't call for it, but in the midst of her being hostile towards me, I just turned around and walked right away from her. Because a lot of times, like, they're upset about something, they want to take it out on you, and if you walk away, it'll make them feel silly for just trying to follow you around. And
Yeah.
spread that negativity.
Exactly. Like in some situations, some people can be so combative that is actually, the better way to handle it is, and like you said, yeah, at that point, the person looks ridiculous then if they're chasing you around the workplace, following you around to go and yell at you. I mean, it does look, and so every situation is a case by case basis, I guess, obviously. And there are ways to diffuse things with humor, but you will know in the moment. And that's what I'd like for you guys to be able to get an understanding through watching the rest of this video as well, that we're going to give you guys some more examples here, and hopefully that will shed light on, okay, this is maybe a situation I want to handle it this way rather than this way. So I think that's an important thing to differentiate, because the scale of these things, yeah, and especially in the workplace, you want to be careful how you handle those situations when somebody is coming at you with all this negative energy. It just, in that example, that makes perfect sense to handle it like that.
Yeah, and whenever you're deciding whether to handle it by walking away or diffusing it with humor, also looking at other examples outside of that, even in the more public eye, it's best to try to get ahead of things. We were talking before about people who do this, who have negative things coming their way and they diffuse the situation their own way. And one of the people we discussed were Taylor Swift. I'm not the biggest person to follow celebrities, but I do know that Kim Kardashian at one point called Taylor Swift a snake. And Taylor Swift, on one of her huge world tours, had all of these snakes coming up, and she was like performing around these like giant snake statues, and there were other elements to kind of put ode to that little diss that Kim K did towards her. And I just felt like that was a very tasteful way to be like, hey, I know you said this wasn't cool, but kind of turning into it, making it your own joke. And a person who did that very well, Martha Stewart, has a felony, and in Hollywood, getting ahead of things, getting in front of it, very important. She got ahead of that, started making jokes about it, making jokes how she has a felony.
Yeah, she had that. I don't remember exactly what it was, if it was an interview or what, but I think maybe it was on Saturday Night Live, where she co-hosted something with Snoop Dogg, and she made some comment about, yeah, like both of us are felons, or one of us is a felon.
Yeah, one of us is a felon.
It's not who you think it is, or something. And it's just the whole attitude that she had. She handled it with a lot. Like, she's doing what we're talking about. She's using humor as a way to almost like
not reacting to it, but finding a way to respond with the humor.
Yeah, it's like, rather than coming and defending yourself, like a lot of people in the public eye, we mentioned Logan Paul. We were talking about Logan Paul the other day. Kind of like after he had that incident where he was in Japan and he was filming some things, and he got himself basically into hot water by doing things that people didn't take well. He made some parody songs. He made a lot of decisions that didn't really add up to being received well by the public. And so it seems to me, though, like, and no offense, like I don't have anything personally against him. In fact, I honestly do feel a little bit bad for him that he hasn't been able to recover from it that well, because it seemed to me that he handled the situation in a way that he came out, really tried to defend himself, and now he seems very like careful, like he's sort of walking on eggshells when it comes to his public I guess appearances, or him being in the public eye, or feeling almost afraid to step on any toes, and therefore his energy has become very like retracted and withdrawn, and he's almost nervous to, like he used to do prank videos. He used to be very outward, like projecting his energy outward, and he seems to have withdrawn. And I just see that a lot happening over and over again with people that get into these situations in the public eye. It is very tough to recover. So, the example of Martha Stewart is somebody that comes to mind that has just handled it in a way where it's almost worked to her advantage. She almost leaned into it.
All the way became a felon and is now on.
And now there's like a very comedic. People think of Martha Stewart and you're like, oh yeah, she's like hilarious.
Yeah.
Because this happened. Whereas before she was just this person who did cooking and what was it, like interior decor, basically like she had that deal with Kmart, all that stuff. That's all she was known for. Now she's also known as like, oh, she's cool. She's kind of like a badass. She kind of like owned all of this. And same thing with Taylor Swift. It's like if she's taking that comment from Kim Kardashian and then showing up to all of these performances, going on tour with a bunch of snakes in the background, that's funny. And a lot of people found it funny. And I personally find it funny. I'm not like a huge follower of Taylor Swift, but that is funny to me. And so this ability to do this is like, it can happen on a large scale like that, but it can also happen in your everyday life, obviously, and like with little things that are triggering.
Like your ID.
Like my ID, yeah. So there was a point in time where my ID had expired, and most people actually didn't care at all. Most people, when we check out at the grocery store, like let's say we're buying some seltzers or anything like that, it was just not a big deal at all. But there was this one chick at Fry's who took it upon herself to like thoroughly inspect my ID, and even though you had your ID, she wouldn't let us buy Mike's Hard Lemonade or something like very small like that. And it was just funny because she was the only person that stopped us. And it's like, do I look like I'm really like under 21? Like, no. And what was the joke then? It was like
we just, because the person next to us, she was also checking out some liquor. So the lady doesn't hardly even glance at her ID. Just is like, oh yeah, no, you're fine, you're good. Scans it, checks her out, and I'm thinking
she even
like,
checked it at all.
I don't think she did either.
I don't think she checked it at all.
And I'm just like, what was the expiration date on that one, honey? And just like making jokes about like, oh, did you get that expiration date? And whenever you got yours again, she was like hard examining it. Like for some reason, she just seemed like she had something against us. But
yeah,
we had to stop ourselves from being like, yo, that expiration date good though?
I think maybe you made some sort of comment to her. I don't remember. But I was just joking about it. Like, yeah, like, are you sure? Like, are you sure that that's good? You might want to double check that expiration again, to double check on that, like a once over on that one, because it's looking a little bit sus. It's looking a little bit suspicious or something. And that was another case where it was just like something more trivial. Instead of being all bent out of shape about it, it was just like, okay, well, kind of funny. Another example that we had was Lucifer, who was over here at the beginning. I don't know where he went off to, but we had a situation where this man's he peed on my duffel bag first. So he peed on that. It was like, it wasn't that big of a deal, to be honest. I sweat it off, like it was fine. But then he peed on my clothes another time, and then there was a whole thing where she got a brand new dog bed for her dog Sadie, and Lucifer just kept peeing on this dog bed. Like it was a thing where it literally happened like 3 or 4 times, and she would wash it, and immediately as soon as she got done washing it, doing it with vinegar, running the whole thing, like the whole 9 yards.
Vinegar, baking soda, just every trick in the book to get rid of the smell.
Like deodorizer, like the whole entire thing, and then drying it, like fluffing it back up so Sadie can like sleep on it. Then he goes and pisses on it again immediately. So it was this thing that actually over time, it actually did really start to like kind of just piss us off, honestly, because it was taking up all this time cleaning this dog bed. We didn't understand why he was doing it. And then he was also going to the bathroom, leaving these big old stink bombs in the cat box. So we just started calling him Deucifer.
Drop a big old Deucifer.
He's dropping a big old Deucifer off.
And it helped us. It was small things, but they started to stack up. And to where we're just almost at our wit's end with him. Not like we're going to do anything, but just so irritated all the time. Like it was smelling bad, needing to deal with the cat pee. And then like just calling him Deucifer, and like he even started making little songs about it too, about going and dropping a deuce in his pants. And it helped us be able to make light and make jokes and like turn those types of situations like more fun, so that we're not like always on edge all the time. And it really is just how you respond to these things that happen in life, because negative things, they're inevitable. And it's how you make light of it and your mental strength in that, and finding humor in things wherever you can, or just like choosing to not respond immediately helps so much with it.
Yeah. And this is something too that one of the first times I really took mental note of this is like really something that I need to take note of and start using more in my own life was I was hanging out with a friend of mine. He introduced me to another friend who is in the cannabis industry, but he's a young guy. He's like my age or maybe even younger than me. And this guy was actually like a multimillionaire, had started this company in that industry, like I said. And one of the things, we were hanging out with him at his house in Bel Air in Los Angeles, and like this nice house. He was showing us his like McLaren in the driveway and everything. But when we were talking to him, we were just like kicking it, drinking out in the patio, looking out at the back view. And one thing that I really noticed, he was telling us this story about him being at work, and obviously like he's the seat like high up at this company. I think he might have been the CEO or the founder of this company. But he had this employee, or it might have been a couple different employees, but one in particular that kept literally just fucking everything up. And I was just listening to this story and I was like, damn, like I would have really been pissed if I was him and I had this employee that kept fucking like absolutely making a monumental mess of, everything that was coming his way. But he was actually just making jokes about it. And I don't remember here in the moment what exactly it was, but I remember that making an impact on me, that his whole entire mental attitude about it. I was like, wow, this is like one of the reasons why this guy's been so successful in business, is because he's able to like let this stuff slide off of him, and he's able to be in stressful situations. He's managing this company that's worth millions and millions of dollars, and this guy's making these monumental mistakes, and he's able to just kind of like use that mental alchemy, mental jujitsu to make it into a joke and then find the humor in it. And that also creates like a better work environment for everybody. It keeps the morale up. It's not like this doom and gloom, all is woe is me type of attitude in the workplace. And then, he still resolves the problem, or he still, is going to pass it off to somebody else, delegate it to somebody else. Maybe he figures it out himself. But really what stuck out to me was his ability to not let it stress him out to the point where he's spiraling negatively now. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that that's something that people that are really successful in business or really successful in life are able to do, is like this emotional control. And it's something I learned in sales too, is people would say very, very rude things to me in sales. And one of the hallmarks of a good salesman, or somebody that's just good at something, is they run into these challenges and they don't let it affect them so much emotionally. They don't take it to heart so much. Like, that was something that I really got out of that process of learning sales, was like, okay, this person slammed the door in my face, cussed me out. It's all good, on to the next. And it's just that attitude, and really using humor can be a really great way to fortify that within you, that ability to be able to reinforce that idea that, okay, and like on to the next. It's just like, okay, shit happens. Like you said at the beginning of this video, stuff will happen in life. It's really about how you respond. So a couple more kind of more trivial examples was, she has this knife, and it's literally like this knife from Japan. It's got like Japanese writing on it. And I was cleaning it one day, and funny enough, I cut myself again today, but anyways, I was a different knife. I was cleaning this knife though, and I was cleaning it off. It was the first time I'd actually handled this knife, but I'd noticed how sharp it was before. And I really like sliced the shit out of my finger on it. And in the moment, obviously, like I was bleeding, I put the Band-Aid on it. But like after that, I kept kind of just talking about this knife, like, oh yeah, like that katana, like I don't even want to look at that thing the wrong way or else it'll cut me. And so it was kind of this joke that I had, and it was like, viewing this knife is almost like it had like its own life, a life of its own, almost like it's in a video game, and it's like this weapon, if you played like God of War, any of these types of games, there's like these like berserker equipment. It'll be really powerful, but then it'll like steal your own life. So it's almost like this like berserker sword or berserker knife that she has, that I was just like, yeah, I can't even be in the same room as that knife or else it's gonna cut me, type of thing. So that was like a funny one. And then there was that one incident with the fire alarm.
Yeah, so I guess in buildings with kitchens, there are two different types of fire alarms, a square one and a circle one. And no one tells you that they're different. And I guess the square one is for like a normal fire, and the other one is for a grease fire. Did not know that there's a difference. So there's an incident at work where black smoke was coming from an outlet. My lead at the time tells me while I'm standing right next to the circle fire alarm, he's like, pull the alarm. I'm like, okay. I pull it, and then the entire ceiling explodes with this grease fire extinguisher all over everything at the beginning of dinner service. And I'm like looking at everything, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fired. And so we get through service, we clean everything out. Fire department's there, comes through, looks at everything, sees like there's dripping all beyond the ceiling, back of the line, just everywhere in the kitchen. And they tell us, yeah, the system was put in wrong. It was put in incorrectly. And I look at them, I'm like, you're welcome. That could have been real bad if you needed it. So that was another way where I just try to get in front of it, try to make my own jokes about a very stressful situation. And then surprisingly, we have a fire drill a little bit later, and they're talking about like fire alarms and like where they are in the kitchen or where they are in the building. And I'm telling them, I'm like, I can tell you which ones to not pull. And everyone in the building already knew that I was the one who pulled the alarm. And so it was good fun making jokes about it that I got to hear for 3 years later in that place.
Yeah, and you were like, not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah, some of them wear aprons.
Yeah, those are all really good examples. So I hope that those help you guys. There's been multiple cases in the workplace that you brought to me recently too, where just like people aren't doing their work, and you're just kind of like, oh, like, who do you think I am? Like this guy who like never does the work, right?
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of examples and a lot of like, hopefully these help you guys kind of give you a general understanding of the principle behind what we're talking about, so that next time something happens that's triggering for you, at least you have this as like part of your toolkit.
Yeah.
Because there's other ways you can handle this too, like we said at the beginning, you know, it depends on the situation. It's very much a case-by-case basis. But this method I've found to be extremely useful. Like I've said, I've seen people use it themselves and what a difference it actually makes in your life. And if you adopt this and are able to move through life with this, it makes it much more graceful, and they're much more filled with ease and not getting so caught up on these things. Like they're snags, and if you allow them to stop you, to prevent you from feeling good,
just derails you.
It completely can be derailing, exactly. And so it's like, you know, this is one tool that I want to give you guys with, and I hope that explains it, and I hope that you guys are able to use this. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you think this was valuable, if you'd like more videos kind of talking about topics like this. I guess like this one came about because I had a comment about it, but anything else as far as like mindset hacks or psychology or things that come to mind, just let me know in the comments, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say. We will drop another couple videos soon. We got a couple more videos for you together that we're gonna be doing, and yeah, much love. Hit the like, drop us a comment, hit the subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, friends.